Virgo, this is your week ahead astrology forecast by Astrology Motivation from Born Without Boundaries. My name is Michelle, and thank you so much for clicking on this video. In this video, we're going to review the major planetary aspects and transits for the week of May 12th through the 18th. I've got my notes right here, guys. And how they impact your natal suns and what that means for your day to day. We're going to start really broad with the big things that are impacting everybody, and then we're going to focus down into what all Virgos should really be focused on, and then I will break it down into the decans, which is the group. A decan is a group of three. A decan is a group of 10 degrees. There are 3 decans in every zodiac sign. And it'll help me whittle down and focus on the specific aspects that are forming between your natal suns and the other planets and the configuration of the sky right now. So I'll be able to tell you exactly how you and your natal sun is going to be impacted. Now, you don't have to have your natal chart and know exactly where your natal sun is located for this reading, because I'll be able to estimate the correlating birth days. So I'll give you a birth date range. So all you really need is your birth date. But the most accurate way, and I suggest you go get your natal chart, it is free. You'll need your birth date, your birth time, and your birth location, all of which are found on your birth certificate. And with that information, they'll pop out a free natal chart in a couple of seconds. There are many websites that do it. Just search free natal chart. So let's dig in, shall we? The big stuff. Well, this week is kind of a build-up, like a drum roll, please, leading up to the new moon that's happening on the 19th. But since this week stops on the 18th, I'm going to focus on the big things that happen within this week. So Mercury goes direct on the 15th, and that impacts you guys directly because Mercury is your ruling dignitary, and you should always know what Mercury is doing. So Mercury posts stationary or stops appearing to move backwards in retrograde on the 15th of this week. It will still take about another 7 days for us to feel it gaining momentum and it returning to its regular pace through the sky, but it posts direct on the 15th. Now, if you know anything about retrogrades, the tail end of it can be probably the roughest patch, especially since everybody thinks it's all of a sudden over. So just prepare yourself that even though Mercury is posting direct on the 15th, to not have any real major breakthroughs or things back to normal until about the 22nd. Just an FYI. Also, on the 17th of this week, we have Jupiter transiting into Taurus, which is really beautiful because Taurus forms a natural trine to Virgo. And so over the course of the next, couple months, right? All of you will be blessed by a trine to Jupiter at one point or another. And even if when it's not trine to your natal suns, it'll be stimulating your natal suns in some way. And we'll be discussing that. So we have the Mercury going direct on the 15th, and Jupiter transiting into Taurus on the 17th. Now, Jupiter transiting into Taurus is really nice energy because it's abundance. It's abundance in the house of finance. So let's just pray for blessings always around, but it should be really nice for you guys. The other big aspect that's happening, and it just keeps getting tighter and tighter and will continue to get tighter over the next 2 weeks, is this grand cross that we have in the sky between Pluto, Jupiter, Mars, and the South Node. So Pluto and Mars are in opposition to each other, and Pluto is square to Jupiter, and Jupiter is also square to Mars. And on the other side of it all is the South Node, because Jupiter is now conjunct the North Node. This grand cross makes for a very tense, tight, and almost like energy so impassable it's going to implode. What I've called it is the rotor-rooter of astrology, because this kind of energy becomes so compact and so tense, it will combust or implode upon itself. Either way, it's kind of wanting to just push through this clog that we have. It almost represents a clog that needs to just be pulled through no matter what. It's a relentless kind of energy, and if there's a background tension to everybody, it is because of that. This Grand Cross will last for another couple of weeks. Jupiter and Pluto will be square through June 15th, so almost a month from now. And the Mars opposition to Pluto will start to dissipate after another 2 weeks. But this is the next couple of weeks of major tension and major push toward change. So let's dig into those Virgo specifics. What is Mercury doing? So we already know that Mercury is going direct. Mercury is still in Taurus. It's interesting because of its retrograde and then going direct. It's going to move from 6 degrees Taurus back to 5 degrees Taurus, and then it's going to go back to 6 degrees Taurus. So it does kind of a little boop, boop in the sky. And if that motion doesn't kind of like give you a little bit of whiplash, I would be surprised. Mercury is conjunct the North Node while it's doing this. It's conjunct Jupiter while it's doing this. It has a very loose conjunction to Jupiter and the North Node, and opposite the South Node as well, but it's also sextile to Saturn. So there is some sense of trying to whittle out and squeeze out the last bit of opportunity when it comes to this Mercury retrograde for any kind of law or establishment or work situation. So kind of be aware of those opportunities this week. It could be bigger or broader, just to say, than you in particular. But if you feel a little kind of like whiplash, it's definitely got to do with Mercury doing some pretty funky stuff. Let's get into the decans. So Virgo 1. If your natal sun is between 0 and 9 degrees Virgo, you are a Virgo 1. This correlates to August Virgos, essentially August 22nd through August 30th or 31st. You guys are Virgo 1s. Your natal suns are sextile to Venus this week, which is really beautiful because there's almost like a radiance and a grace and an elegance about your character and your person without you even trying. There is joy and sweetness. It could be absolutely romantic and definitely finance related, since we now have since Venus is in Cancer, and Cancer is a lot more finance related than people realize. So this could also be financial opportunities coming through for you, taking advantage of that Mercury sextile to Saturn with all that business stuff. Go and get your opportunities this week. We also have your natal sun square to the current sun, which means they will be squared to the new moon on the 19th. This could mean some frustration and tension around starting again and a new beginning, but it will happen. Those challenges are just there to set you up for learning and education. So even though there might be some hiccups, especially I think it's going to come from the Mercury retrograde. Oh, we thought this was going to be able to go through because the rules were like this, and now the rules were like this. There might be switching outside of you that you have to accommodate. I think it is still very stimulating energy, but sun square the sun can make us a little bit overconfident. It can also sometimes challenge really inside how we feel about ourselves. So just take your time, pace yourself, and certainly breathe through any kind of self-doubt that you might be experiencing. Your natal suns are trine to Jupiter. Let me tell you something. When your natal suns are sextile to Venus and trine to Jupiter, this is an immensely positive week. Trine to Jupiter is just ease and optimism that maybe is even unfamiliar to you, but it's a blessing. It's a blessing, and it'll bring almost like a luck without you having to think about it, to everything that you do. As Jupiter moves into Jupiter moves into Taurus from Aries. This is an expansion and growth and opportunity when it comes to financial situations and matters. So this will last for the next week or so for you guys. So enjoy this. Your natal suns are also trying to Mercury. So this is a eloquence of speech, your brain working well, or even the retrograde, you discovering things or finding out things, it churning up things that actually work for you and actually help you. You have great advantage now when it comes to work or play. Please enjoy this week. Once again, also trying to the North Node, which means your future focused, and especially plans that have to do with who you are, who you want to be in the future, and self-discovery and comfort starting to form about where you're headed. This is a very productive week for you. There's a long-term quincunx to Neptune, which means you could have brain fog a little bit and maybe be susceptible to dreaming or kind of drifting off and into fantasy land a little bit more than usual, but it's also creative energy. So if you use that energy to create and you channel that energy into creativity, whatever form that creativity takes for you, especially music for you guys, I think would be perfect. Just let it translate. Music, dance is always wonderful for Virgos. It'll actually help to keep your mind more focused, and that's long term, so that's over the next couple of years. So maybe you're going to be getting into something new. And then we have an opposition to Saturn. So this opposition to Saturn could be very stimulating energy, but what it means is you're hard on yourself, and nothing you do can be perfect enough, or you feel like you have to make everything has to be hard in order for you to deserve it. So there's just a sense of, for the next year or so, just take it back a few notches. Just allow yourself to be more happy with who you are and how you're performing. You're probably working harder than you normally do anyway. With this aspect impacting your natal sun. So if you feel your neck starting to crank up, a lot of times we hold tension in our neck. If you feel just any kind of tension or stress, it's probably because you're being intentionally hard on yourself or too hard on yourself, and you need a little bit of self-care. All in all, just an extremely extremely fortunate and opportunity-rich week for you, and I love it. Okay, we're going to slide into Virgo 2s now. So Virgo 2s, this is if your natal sun is between 10 and 19 degrees Virgo. Generally, it translates into those Virgos who are born September 1st through the 9th or 10th. In and around those birthdays, kind of like the first 10 days of September. Your natal suns have two long-term aspects that they are participating in, and we've talked about them. We've been talking about them forever now. There's a trine to Uranus, which means technological advancements or ingenuity, essentially thinking outside of the box, being happy or harmonious with strange things, or having curveballs come out of the blue that end up working for you. This is expect the unexpected. This is a long-term transit that's been impacting your natal suns for the last couple of years and will be for another couple of years. So just kind of sit back and enjoy the ride. There is more stimulation around Uranus right now because of the moon. Let's see. No. This is for Chiron. So, but no. Even toward the 19th, the 18th, the moon will conjunct Uranus. So if you feel a little bit more emotions coming up that are strange and different, a little bit weird, that's because the moon is now adding energy to Chiron, and it's just for that day, like right before that new moon happens. And for some of you, that new moon is actually going to be trine to your natal suns, so we'll get into that. Now, for Virgo 1s, that new moon is going to be square to your natal sun. So we talked a little bit about that, just an FYI. But for Virgo 2s, that trine is a long-term aspect. And so long-term aspects we tend to be getting used to, maybe more comfortable with than we should, because we kind of look only at what's right in front of us. But this is a stimulation, that trine to Uranus, that could make for weird stuff happening to you more frequently. And you'll really feel it, especially now when the moon comes around and conjuncts Uranus on the 18th of this week. And then we have that quincunx to Chiron, which is also long-term and has been impacting you for a couple of years and will continue. This can make you doubt your self-worth, your purpose. It could also be more injuries or dealing with especially physical ailments that keep coming up, challenging you, making things a little bit more difficult for you, or working through old injuries. So on the 16th of this week, the moon is going to conjunct Chiron, which means any of that impact is going to become much more emotional, and let yourself purge. It'll actually help. It'll actually help for sort of the catharsis of dealing with this very challenging aspect. There's just a lot more emotion built up when the moon is conjunct to Chiron. So that's the 16th. Be very, very kind to yourself. Don't push yourself, especially physically, on this day. Self-care and self-love and extra patience is really important. Okay, and now Virgo 3s. Virgo 3s, this is if your natal sun is between 20 and 29 degrees Virgo. That usually correlates to the 11th through the 21st of September. Your natal suns are sextile to Mars. This is a very stimulating energy, especially because Mars is opposite Pluto and square to Jupiter. It's so stimulated by so many other things. This is an energy that's just going to make you just very, very physical and need to be very, very physical. And it's going to feel vivacious, like a lot of energy, extra energy for you. Definitely moving faster than you normally do, having a lot of vitality, and really, really motivated. So that will definitely be beneficial. But if you are at the Libra cusp, so those of you who are like the 19th, 20th, 21st, your natal suns are square to Venus, which means there can be some conflict when it comes to, let's put it this way, with that vitality from the sextile to Mars, the square to Venus is going to come across as maybe a bull in a china shop, a sense of you lacking grace, you maybe are a little bit blunt when you talk to people, push too hard, go too far. There could be conflicts with finances. This is not a great time to experiment with or change any of the aesthetics of your atmosphere or yourself. Not a great time for a haircut. It's easy to feel challenged in terms of your own personal value. So headbutting your spouse or whoever you're in a long-term relationship is possible for the next week. So just be aware of that. It's not the greatest time to date, especially since you'll have this extra energy coming from that beautiful sextile to Mars. You don't want to push it or overdo it. There could be some major frustration. Let's just put it that way. You will be trine to the sun, which means you're also trine to the new moon. So you're really intent for beginning and starting something new and starting something fresh, changing what maybe has been traditional for you and opening yourself up to a new version of that, a 2.0 version, so it doesn't seem so much like a change, but an upgrade. That's really exciting. Definitely use that new moon especially and this beautiful trine with the sun to be optimistic. There's a natural optimism about this position, and it's a great time for you guys to use the power of the moon to manifest and welcome new things into your life. You have a long-term transit to Neptune, which is an opposition to Neptune. Sometimes this can make you susceptible to foggy brain and believing things that aren't really real. So watch out. If you think something's too good to be true, it is, and definitely ask somebody else for a second opinion, or if somebody comes to you, especially if they're a trusted family member or friend and says, why are you falling for that? Or I don't have a good feeling about that. Pay attention and do some research, because this opposition to Neptune goes on for a couple of years, and it could impair your judgment with some things, just an FYI. It could also stimulate your creativity. So once again, in order to focus this stuff in a very positive and productive way, choose a creative outlet that will help you over the next couple of years. And then you also have a long-term aspect to Pluto. If you are at the Libra cusp, there is a natural trine to Pluto, which means looking forward to change, happy about change, elegance in change. It's sort of the butterfly moment. A trine to Pluto is like when you can spread your wings coming out of your cocoon and actually really feel comfortable in this new body, this new space, and this new life of yours. So over the next couple of years, and for maybe 2 years prior to this, you've started an expansion and you felt the changes, but it's a leveling up. So it should be harmonizing your life and bringing peace to your life overall. You let me know in the comments below, Virgo. Thank you so much for participating this week. Please remember to subscribe to the channel and give this video a thumbs up, and then come on over to Born Without Boundaries Tarot, where I do a week ahead tarot card reading for you guys. I love you, and I'll talk to you next week. Bye, Virgo.